It's been a while, guys. Wow, I haven't seen you in quite some time. Today is special. Yeah, as you can see, we have a bunch of parts here. The day has finally come to water cool our PC. But I mean, first, let's talk about it really quick. Let me grab the PC and I'll show you. This PC. So I built this PC like a little over a year ago, and when I built it, it was actually at a great time as far as availability for parts. It's done really great. It's got a Ryzen 7 3700 for the processor. It's got a RX 5700 XT for the graphics card. We've put in a capture card. But here's the thing, this computer, it does everything. This is our main workhorse. Not only does Sammy use it every day for editing and content creation, but we also use it for streaming. I use it for my VR sim racing. We use it for other VR games. I mean, we use it to like do video chats and everything. Like, this is the computer. I have my laptop, but this is it. And when I built it, we built it at a pretty good price point, but something's gone wrong. When I built it, we did an AIO, an all-in-one, for the CPU cooler on there. In the last few months, that has gone bad and it sounds terrible. We'll fit in a clip right here to show how bad it sounds. Sammy, I feel bad for her because she's every day working on this computer, so she has to listen to that all the time and it's been driving her nuts. So it was like, okay, we need to replace the water cooler, and I decided it'd be a fun time to finally do something I've always wanted to do, which is a custom water loop. I've never done it before. It's my first time and we're going all out. When I looked at doing water cooling, like a custom water loop, I went over like, 10 or 15 different scenarios that I could try to fit it inside of this case. But really at the end of the day, when it came down to it, it was either I could spend a decent chunk of money and get parts specifically that would work on with this, or I could spend a little bit more and move to a whole new case, and the parts that I would be buying would be more universally used. Like if I changed it down the road, I'd be able to use these same parts. While with this one, a lot of the parts would work with just this scenario. So we decided to go the little bit more expensive route, but I think it'll work out. And we've got tons of fittings. We got our Corsair 14mm tubing. We're doing hard line. And we got our radiator. We got some tools to cut stuff. We got our water block for the CPU. And for the reservoir, I decided to go with an EK Quantum Kinetic, or like the FLT, the flat reservoirs and pump combo, just because I love the look of them. And I might have been able to go with a tube res, but I think I really like that one, and I think we'll be able to make it work, and it'll even work better. The problem is I've done so much measuring. I've done so many different scenarios, like planning it out and mapping and measuring. I think there's like 2 or 3 options that we can do, but at first we need to get all the components out of here and into the new case for us to see what may or may not work. Today is going to be a long day, but I'm glad you guys are here, and I am so excited to finally get this done. It's going to look so cool. It's going to be so quiet. And here's the thing, if I get a new GPU later, I could water block it and add it into the loop. Yeah, it's going to be pretty fun. Let's get to it. All right, so first step is to actually tear this down. But this computer, it honestly has been serving us really well. And I like this case, but there's definitely some things that I do not like about this case. Like for one, this. Having to take off screws and then try to carefully not touch or put any fingerprints on this tempered glass to put it on and off. This is annoying. Here's the RX 5700 XT, the MSI version. Been pretty good. Well, I've had a lot of driver crashes. I've been keeping all the drivers way up to date, but still, I mean, I'm getting driver hangs and then the whole thing crashes, but I can't get anything better right now. So pretty good for what it is. So in this computer, I have 2 M.2 hard drives in there, one for all the content creation and the operating system, and the other one for our games. So that way that there's 2 really fast hard drives in there. I have these 2 4TB hard drives in here. So these ones are our actual data storage. They're just an identical copy. So that way all the videos we create and everything we shoot gets stored off to these. Later I'd love to do like a NAS, a network attached storage, or some better solution, but for right now this is kind of working for our capacity and it's pretty good. I guess let's just undo all of my pretty wiring. Don't look at the mess. Here, I might have done a little bit too much, but let's zoom in on that. Look at that coverage, man. I did a pretty good job on the thermal paste application. I think I'll have to do about the same this time. And it's not dried or anything. There we go. There's my ASRock X570 Extreme 4. Yeah, on this motherboard, we've got two M.2 drives. We've got an M.2 Wi-Fi, and there's our Ryzen chip. We've got 32 gigabytes of Corsair DDR4 memory, or RAM. So far, it's been pretty good. And just like that, we are moved out. So again, this case is not bad. It's the Fanatec Eclipse P360, I think. And it's a really good case. I like it. This glass looks great. Got a little RGB, but not enough space for doing water cooling and where we want to go. Look at that. This is the Lienli LanCool 2, and there's a couple cool features. This is the mesh version. So we got full mesh all the way down the front. And notably, first difference is you have these little panels that pull down so you can easily access, and that's on both sides. Also, each of these tempered glass sides, whoo, look at that, hinges. I don't have to deal with screws or anything. It's great. Oh my goodness. I'm super excited about this. All right, I just wanted to give a really quick shout out to my friend Dane for suggesting this case, and also just really helped me figure out all the different pieces that I'd need to do this water cooling. It really helped out in the long run. Just want to say thanks. Yeah, so this is the performance one. So it came with the mesh. I didn't have to pay extra for like RGB or anything because I'm actually going to be replacing all these fans. And this front part is actually kind of cool because we can fit in a triple 120, maybe even a 140, but we're going to go triple 120 all the way up in here. So that way we can fit our radiator, which we got an EK Coolstream PE, the new version. So we're going to have a triple 120 rad right up front. That's going to be sweet. So moving to this case, I'm really excited about it. Other than when I got it, the friggin' USB-C port on top had nothing. It was just empty. So I did some research, and yeah, there's different options that you can get with the case. So I actually got two of the add-ons. The hot swappable plate, which I really got this just so that way I can see if we're accessing those drives. Because those drives are really slow and only meant to be like save off and will like, you know, to cold storage almost. So with the hot swappable plate, I can at least see, oh, have we done something wrong? And every time we start up a program, it's accessing data from that, because I don't want them to access the drives much at all. And then the stupid USB-C cable, which paid a bit more than I think I should for a USB-C cable. So we're gonna have to install these on this case as well to get the full function out of it. Question is, where do we want to start? Well, let's pull these fans out at least. One of the cool features about this case, so we've got the basement down here, right? And this drive bay can actually move around. So once I get my power supply in there and kind of see where I want to run my cables and how much space it's going to take, I can move this drive bay as close to those as possible. But what I really like about this case, it just gives us a lot more options. So I'm going to be removing this so we can fit the radiator. And now we have this like access down into the basement, which I personally think is really cool. What I want to do with this is, because we have this space in the basement that we can use, I mean, yeah, you might be able to see a little bit through there, but I really want to put my radiator so that way the in and out ports are down here. So that way I know the radiator is going to drain whenever we do drain the system. And plus, I feel like it's not very often that we see like water cooling go down into the basement. At least I really like that idea. So we're going to take off this plate, move. There's this whole bracket up front, this whole tray that the fans sit into and the radiator will mount onto. So I'm going to flip this around and put it in the orientation that gives us the most space up here, and then we should be pretty good to go. So let me get these fans off and then we'll continue talking. Alright, we've got a blank canvas. I think actually what I'm going to do while everything's out of the case, I'm going to put in this USB-C cable and then also put in that hot swappable tray. So let's get this done real quick. This should let this whole front I/O board come. Ah. So we've got some SATA cables, screws, and the back plate. Yeah, it looks like we've got some little light guides to go on the back of the tray. Here's the trays. Oh, and see, they've got the place for the light guides, but the light guides aren't in there. Let's get these hot swappable trays in. I'm not doing much for ESD here. I am being a little careful, but from what I've seen, I don't have to worry about that too much. I'm gonna set this off to the side and we're gonna put in these light guides on the trays really quick. All right, one light guide installed. There we go, third one in. So now we have all three trays with all three of the light guides in. Why does it only come with two? The hot swappable drive plate, it's 3 drives. But why does it only give 2 SATA cables? Like, I have other SATA cables, but if I didn't, I'd be screwed. Yeah, whatever. So we got the drives in, we got the USB port. New plan, we're actually gonna work on the motherboard. We're gonna put on the water block. It's a good place to do it. Alright, so yeah, this is my ASRock X570 motherboard. The water block that we decided to go for, which I haven't even opened this, is an EK Quantum Velocity. Has addressable LEDs and it should be for this. I need to go grab some isopropyl alcohol to clean that. Man, this is gonna look so good. For some reason, it's a lot bigger than I was thinking. For this build, we're gonna go with like a frosted plexi look, except for the reservoir. I'm gonna leave that on so I don't get dirt on it. All right, so actually, I have no idea how this goes on. Wow, look, they even give you a little bit of thermal paste. So we're gonna use the thermal paste I already have. I'm guessing, yeah, those line up perfectly for these. And I guess those did actually come from the other one. So yeah, let's take these off. Get my screwdriver. There might be no instructions on this. This is gonna be quite interesting then. After looking at this, I think this is how they want you to do it. So I've got that back plate on with that silicone stuff. And then on the front, there was 2 different standoffs. Those ones have like a little bit of a space and then threads, and these ones are just threads. And I think these ones fit better. And then they've got these plastic washers that I put in between there. And I think, I could be wrong, again, there's no instructions here, but I think that how it works is that this goes on like that once I put on my thermal paste. And then we'll have springs for clamping pressure, and then we get these things which have a pocket for the springs, and then we can push it down. Maybe these bottom out when it's at the right time. I don't know, we'll figure it out. But I think the next step here, since this looks pretty good, is to clean these and then put on some thermal paste. So let's get to it. So I'm gonna put a tiny bit more. I am not a professional. So we should be good to go to put the motherboard into the new case and start hooking things up and looking at how things are gonna actually map out. All right, now begins the fun game of wiring. Alright, so I had to pull out my motherboard manual to make sure that I'm actually plugging these in correctly. And it looks like reset switch is correct, power switch will get on correctly. And then we have, yeah, the front panel plus and minus. Cool, we don't have a hard drive LED, that's okay though. So now our front panel is hooked up. Let's get our power supply in. That seems like a good step. Cora's trying to like eat a big stick. Can I see your stick? Bring me your stick. Come on, we'll show it to everybody. Yeah. Here is her stick. And she's a little 30-pound border collie. Okay, so now we just need power to our graphics card, which will probably come out right there. So let's go to the back. I got the graphics card plugged in. So now graphics card has power, motherboard has power, CPU has power. I'm okay with how this looks so far. Seems functional. Next thing, I mean, we can start putting in case fans. So I had 5 case fans before, which was really annoying. Let me show you why it was annoying. So typically in a computer, you want equal air in and equal air out. I mean, to a degree. It'd be nice to maybe have some static pressure, meaning more air in than less air out. So that way it's always gonna be pushing air out rather than sucking air in random spots. I mean, this has a lot of mesh, so I don't know how much that actually matters. But so we have 1 fan for the power supply, and with only 5 case fans, I had 2 up front that were pulling air in, and then 3 that were exhausting. Now that we have the triple up front, I can do 3 in, 3 out, and that'll make me feel a lot better. And I can actually kind of tune my fan settings a bit better for that. Let's start putting in fans. I have 1 more fan. Woo, brand new, looks good. We'll put in the 5 other ones. Getting pretty late in the day, so I think what I'm gonna do is get this to a point where we have like the radiator and the fans in, and maybe look a little bit at what I want to do for how I want to place the reservoir and run the lines now that it's all in here, and we can go from there. But so let's get these fans in. These fans add a lot of cables. So I think I am going to do intake on the front, exit there, because we're going to have the radiator up front so it gets nice fresh air. Oh, there goes the fan. Oh, okay, no more dropping fans. All right, here's our radiator. This is a EK Coolstream PE. I will say, when I was looking at all this stuff, for whatever reason, I love this triple fan setup. And part of the reason why I wanted to go with the mesh case is because through the front mesh, you could see these 3 fans, these huge intakes, and I don't know what it is. I love the way this looks. I am stoked. That is for sure. And we'll have right down in here, you can see the tubes coming down. So we'll have the tubes coming down and enter the radiator at the basement. You can see the logo up at the top. Like, oh, this is so sick. We're almost done for right now, but I wanted to pull out this. Yeah, here's the FLT res with the D5 pump, and the D5 pump is huge. It's actually caused quite a bit of problems. But I love the way this looks, and there's LEDs along the bottom, and it looks so good. I'll leave you with this today. That looks so good. The fans are so close on the front. I didn't realize how far out they would come, but I love this. I love the triple fans. It looks so good. I can't wait to see them on with the RGB and everything. Should have weighed the other one and then weighed this. Oh, 'cause this has gotta be pretty dang heavy. So I think we'll leave it at that today. We did quite a bit. I'll come back tomorrow, finish filming the rest, and we'll actually start running it. See you tomorrow. All right, I'm back. So I got to thinking, and I'm pretty sure I know how I'm gonna mount the reservoir and pump. But this morning, as the shop was warming up a little bit, I put together all of our fittings that we're gonna use, and they're actually looking pretty good. I did bits power. I really like the fit and finish of them. These 2 are at the bottom of the reservoir, and I'll show you why we need them like that. I looked forever and ever to find a fitting that would do what I needed for this. I ended up having to get a fitting and then putting in 2 stops. So hopefully this doesn't affect flow too much. It shouldn't. And I already bought this one thinking it would work for another plan I had, but then that changed. So now at least those 2 are matching. First, we need to figure out our reservoir and actually mounting it in. I stared at it for a while last night, and I think I know what I want to do now. So let's put these away and start looking at the rest. So last night I put together these brackets, and this bracket is to make it so you can mount the reservoir at a 90 to some 140 or 120 millimeter fan points. If everyone needs to know, it just comes with two sets of brackets, and the best way that I can figure it out is that these ones with the two holes in the slots up and down are meant to mount to the res, so that way you can slide up and down the res, and then that'll go to this guy like so, and then you can use the screws and you can mount the res forward and backwards anywhere on here. This mounts to the 120 fan mount, and then the angle goes to these really long slots into those two tapped holes, and then this goes to your reservoir. It took me a little bit to figure that out. I don't know why they don't just put in like one piece of paper to help explain that. Man, this is a really hard situation where it's like, how can I do this so that way I'm not... Because, you know, I could take the graphics card out to make putting the reservoir in easier.
But then I can't get the graphics card in. But the graphics card in, I could try putting the reservoir in, but then it makes it really hard because, you know, I don't have much space to get in and actually screw those down.
The two ways that I was really thinking about doing it, it was either chop these brackets down so that they're really tight against the graphics card, or have it up right here where it's just mashing these connectors. I wish I could get some like 90 degree or like straight up, so that way the power just plugged in up like this, because then that would clear the front a lot easier. But oh well, I can't do that, and I don't feel like ordering more parts. So chopping these brackets down is the way to go. Let's mount those. Start looking at these brackets, call it a day. Okay, so at least this one bracket, I need to chop off this section. Hopefully you can see that. But I marked off where I'm gonna chop, and we're just gonna chop it off here so that way we can still mount to the res. So yeah, it's gonna be really flimsy right there a bit, but I think it'll still be doable. So we're gonna chop this off and go from there. We just chopped off this edge right here, so that way we have a little clearance that allows us, so if we can get the D5 pump under there, so that way we can mount it right here with that bracket, and I'll probably put another bracket underneath on the back side, on the lower side, to still hold it, so it's not just one bracket. But you can see with that cut out, we can actually clear our graphics card, and then we'll run our tubes later. That'll basically make it so it's completely flush up against there. And I actually really like that. That looks cool, and that looks professional. And then all the bubbles and stuff will come up here, and I can bleed that off really well. If I put the computer on its side, this will be the highest point in the whole loop, which would be awesome. So I could even fill from right here, especially if I laid it on its side, fill the entire loop from right there. And I mean, yeah, we'd cut the bracket. If later on, if we do go to a water-cooled graphics card, then we won't have to deal with these issues, because it's just the cooling part of the card that we're really interfering with. Because if we didn't have any of that, we could even slide this in further. I like how that is, and I think this is what we're gonna do. I mean, I already cut the bracket, so I gotta do it. There you can see the cutout. Alright, so after looking at it for a while, I think what I'm going to do is, there's some standoffs that came with the reservoir, just standard, and then I had that 90-degree one. What I think we're going to do is use this on the back side as like an extension, and then make some little brackets to be able to mount to the existing holes. And then that'll at least give it another place so that I'm not just relying on one bracket for everything. So I'm going to cut up a little bit of metal, paint it black, and go from there. So we've made two brackets, so we're using one of the angled brackets and then one of the brackets that came with it to just normally stand off at an angle like this. And then this is going to give us 4 points of contact into the computer. And so we'll have these two normal ones where we cut that bracket, and then I made this new bracket to go along this edge. This is part of the angle one. And then we made this other bracket down right in here to bolt onto this one. And I've checked the fitment and it looks all good, so I'm going to bolt these up and start getting everything in place. We can finally move on to doing the runs, to doing the tubes, which I'm a little scared of because I've never been tubes, and we'll see how it goes. But this is turning out pretty good, and I like the fitment. It does push up my graphics card a little bit more than I want, but I think I'll live. So yeah, I want to show you those brackets. I think that'll hold it in good. So now you can see we have our one custom bracket, and then all the way down back here we have our other custom bracket, and that should hold everything together. And so we'll just have one tube kind of coming down into here, into the bottom of the res, And then the other tube coming down from the water block. We're getting close. Man, mounting that took a bit more than I thought, but ultimately I think it turned out. I guess next, let's talk about fitting. So down here in the basement, we have the 2 connects for our radiator, our triple rad up front, and that's where I came up with this. I think this, I could call this the Q fitting, and then the valve. And the way I'm gonna do this is on this further one, we're gonna have the drain valve always there. It has a cap on it right now. And then the closer one is gonna have like the same fitting. But that way, at the lowest point, I can drain the entire loop and should be easily accessible right here. So this is where we'll have the drain valve right there. And I can even like make a little fitting that I could put a tube on there and then, I don't know, fill it or drain it or whatever. But that's another fun thing about this is on the back side, I have that whole panel that I can take down, and then on the front side you should just see nice pretty fitting into there. So, and then I think we're gonna do 2 90s off of the reservoir. So we'll do, the return is gonna come back and down, and then the pump out is probably just gonna come up and into there. So that should be pretty simple and look pretty good. Let's get to it. I'm ready to be done. Alright, so yeah, we should have one fitting come up into there. And then the hot water is going to go down into our radiator, up through the radiator, and then the last tube is going to come up, over, and into here. Oof, the tubing. The part I am worried about. What I'm probably going to do for all of these is intentionally make it longer than I need. That way I can make the bend and then measure and cut from there. Alright guys, so a little bit of movie magic later. I've wire managed this to kind of my liking. Essentially, yeah, I'll walk you through how I wired everything, because we've got the CPU power there, we've got the motherboard power here, we've got graphics card there, we've got the SATA for the hard drives coming up through here, and then the power for that down here. We've got all the fans coming in to right here. So we've got the USB interface for the RGB and then this splitter for the RGB. And we've got the PWM controller that came with the case that allows me to go motherboard control, or like I can manually set the speed of the fans up here. And then eventually we're gonna get another one of these up here and then convert the reservoir and the backplate or the water block. But that's essentially it. I mean, there's some other random wires, but I think that's pretty good. I mean, some of these wires need to be trained a little bit. It should clean up pretty nicely. Alright, I'm gonna leave the glass off for right now because we're gonna finally fill it up. I've got my tiny piece of tubing, dollar store turkey baster, which broke, so I had to electrical tape it, and then a funnel finally at the top. Pretty sure we're ready to go. This is scary. have it plugged in so we can turn it off. Okay, power supply on. We're just gonna blurp it. I forgot about the fans. The fans all started eating my paper towels. Can I make this go off? I can make them go low. We'll go again. Okay, we'll add in a bit more water. All right, no leaks. No leaks. Looks like we're doing pretty good. Don't think that's a leak. I think that's me being a dingus down there. That other water pump might be okay. We might have done this for nothing. Other than, yeah, now it's upgradable, but holy smokes. And now I've got to, drain the whole loop, take out the graphics card somehow. And I'll probably just unplug that fan for the M.2s because that's what's crapping out. Oh my goodness. I can't believe this. I cannot believe this. Guys, it's too perfect. I was wrong. When our computer started making noise, I was like, oh man, I tested each of the fans. I tested the graphic card fans. I tested everything, and I was like, man, the one thing that's gonna be a pain to do is unplug the water pump on the CPU, and I'm pretty sure it's that, because what else could be making that noise? Days of research, hundreds of dollars later. Move to an entire new case, do the entire water cooling, learn how to do everything, and it's not the water pump. I mean, maybe that water pump was going bad, but it was there's a tiny fan, and there's a heat sink that goes over the M.2s and some of the other stuff on there, and there's a little fan on there for the motherboard. That was making the noise. I don't know. Too perfect. Well, this is fun. We gotta make a video, and I gotta learn how to do tubes. No leaks, which is great. I mean, other than me dropping some water, being a dingus, but what would Sammy say? What will she say when she finds out? All right. Oop, that's a lot of bubbles. Alright, we're just going to go through this a bunch, turning on its side, just to try to get all of the bubbles out, and we'll come back later. Exaggerated playing of Stardew, and go. Yeah! We'll catch one fish. Come on, stupid fish. I think that's enough for exaggerated playing. Alright guys, so it's actually been about a week of using this new system. I've already drained it once to put in a couple small pieces, but it's running. The bubbles are gone in the res, so we can get some nice pretty shots for you. And overall, I think this build went pretty smoothly. I only dropped water on the motherboard once. I wish I got it on camera, but I didn't. Overall, I absolutely love how this turned out. It looks so good, so great. I love the triple fans on the front there. I've always wanted to have triple fans in the front. And to know that that goes directly into the radiator. Oh, and down here, where it comes down into the basement, almost every other case, the basement goes all the way across and you can't see down into the basement. So to have like a cutout with it going into the basement just seems really cool. You can look through the reservoir to see the tubes behind it. The frost tubing looks amazing. The Bits power fittings are also just really good and on point. The RGB looks great. It's turned out better than I thought. Honestly, I didn't know how it would do. And though I will say my bends, I was using a soldering heat gun and I couldn't get like uniform heat, so my 90s could use some work. I will say that. Don't come at me with that. Overall, I love it. And moving to this new case, I am a huge fan of this case. It makes it so easy. And I didn't think I would use the whole fan control, but it is nice to know that I can just crank the fans up and get it to start cooling like crazy. So I'm not the one that uses this computer every day, so I think we should get an expert opinion on it. Is it quieter?
Yes.
Do you like the system? Do you think it's an improvement? I think it's staying colder.
Staying colder.
Yeah.
Oh, because it's
cooling the CPU a lot
Yeah,
better.
I think it's great.
You're like, I don't want to deal with this anymore.
I need to eat my salad.
So I am actually a huge fan of this case, the Lianli Lancool 2. This case has so many good features. It's so versatile, and it just starts my mind going for things that we could do in the future. It's pretty good. I mean, maybe if we ever upgrade the graphics card and stuff, but I love this case. I love this idea of these panels flopping out and being able to access everything down in the basement. I mean, what other case has that? I can hot swap the drives and see if they're being accessed, and like, I don't have to worry about the tempered glass falling off with the whole hinges there holding it, and I can access anything that I want in there. It's just such a good case. All this to say, I am really happy with how this project turned out, and I'm really excited to actually start using this again. But you know, using it with the better cooling, I've even streamed with it a bit, and honestly, I'm pretty sure it runs a bit cooler. I need to actually check the temperatures, but it didn't crash once. Sometimes it crashes when I'm trying to stream and do VR, and I'm actually able to hold better frame rates. I'm pretty sure I was thermal throttling before. It looks great, performs great, and it was a fun time. So I think that'll do it for this time. If you want to see the videos that we're making, it's gonna be a fun summer. I hope you guys come along. I hope you subscribe. That'll do it for this video, and we will see you next time. Bye.